Hey there, everybody. Thank you for joining me. I thought I would take a departure from our normal videos where we talk about creating effective PPC, Google Ads, and Facebook campaigns and just talk specifically about the landing page experience. And even more specifically, Unbounce. And I thought it would be fun just to take an example of a website template that's really tailored around StoryBrand. And I don't know if you're familiar with StoryBrand. If not, look it up. Go to StoryBrand.com. They have a terrific book, so it's a great read as well. But it's a way of presenting marketing information visually and then also contextually, or content-wise, right? So it's another framework. So I don't know if you're familiar with the PAS framework or the ADA framework, but it's another framework. And it's something that we use quite a bit for the landing page experience. And I just wanted to see, what could we do with Unbounce if we were to take a page, for example, here's a wireframe example of it, right? But if we were to take something like this, which is sold by StorySite, this is the North template, and then use this kind of as a template to create something out of Unbounce. And it will be a great opportunity not only to show you visually how to create this, but also take you through Unbounce if you're new to that platform. So we're going to take this, and then I'm going to give you a preview here because we're going to end up with something like this, and we're going to build this out slowly. Okay, so it'll be a great exercise here in just how to make something look amazing through Unbounce. Before I get into that, I do want to step back and just talk a little bit about content on any landing page. And let me just get rid of my face here so I can give myself some more screen space for the visuals. But I want to talk about the awareness funnel. This is really, really important before you do any landing page design. So no matter if it's StoryBrand or any of the other frameworks, 10x landing pages talks a lot about PAS and ADA. Well, a lot of people do. Right? These are tried and true different frameworks that are tried and true, and you really need to be strategic about what you're going to say before you dive into any landing page software or any landing page platform and start building. Okay, so you got to really think, and before you even open up, Unbounce, for example, start thinking about who your audience is. You have a very specific audience. Don't speak to everybody, right? So you want to make sure that you're speaking to a very specific audience and understand where they are in the buying journey. So a lot of times we talk about this awareness funnel. And from the very top where somebody is completely unaware of your product or service, and then they become more problem aware. Not so much about your product or service, but they're aware of a problem. And then they become, through time, more aware that solutions exist that will actually address the problem. And then, if we're marketing correctly, they become product aware, right? So if you could look at that differently, because there's different ways to look at this funnel, same funnel over here at awareness, but you also see the funnel presented this way, right? Where you have awareness, interest, decision, and action. And our goal as marketers are to create awareness, drive interest, influence a decision, and compel action. And when we think about landing page copy in particular, this is how it looks, okay? And I know there's a lot here, but just concentrate down here on the content example portion. Landing page content should speak to a specific audience and awareness level. So here are the stages: unaware, problem aware, solution aware, product aware, and most aware. And the content really needs to be tailored to where somebody is on that journey. Otherwise, and also a specific audience. If you're not talking to a specific audience, you're talking to everybody. And if you're talking to everybody, it's not going to resonate. There's a time and place for that. More top of funnel, awareness type advertising. But when it gets down into what we do, which is like very specific digital marketing and very specific channels, you have to be completely aware of not only who your audience is, but where they are on that journey. Okay, so different types of content depending on the stages of awareness, right? And then it's tied into also where you're marketing. So if you're driving traffic to your landing page, step back, think about it, right? So if you're doing Google search, if you're doing very high intent search, Google PPC advertising, then most likely somebody's product aware because they're searching specifically for your product, unless they're doing how, high, where, these open-ended type of question searches, when then it's more upper funnel. And then Google, of course, has display and YouTube and all these other extensions of their ecosystem that goes way up funnel. But in the very beginning, usually we're talking about search, very specific searches. So these are people that are a lot of times solution and product aware, and make sure that you're speaking directly to that very unique audience. And if you're going up funnel into something that's more, unaware or problem aware, you're writing in a different manner for that audience as well. So I always keep these things in mind. A couple of recommendations I would have for courses: 10x landing pages by copy hackers. Conversion, they have a whole conversion copywriting course. It is amazing. It does take a while to get through it. And then CXL is another one that we have all gone through. So conversion rate optimization, landing page optimization. It just allows you to think really strategically about who you're trying to reach and how you're going to speak to them in a way that resonates and leads to a conversion. Because if you just jump into Unbounce and just start creating pages, then most likely it's not going to work unless you get lucky, right? And if you're interested in doing the Unbounce, we got a great offer as well. So 20% off first 3 months or 35% off your first full year. Just go to brandrocket.net/Unbounce to claim that offer. But let's get into it. Okay, so I am logged into my Unbounce account. So you'll need to set one up to follow along if you don't have one already. And again, if you don't have anything, then go to brandrocket.net/Unbounce to claim your discount. And we're just going to, I'm not going to get into all of this stuff over here. I'm not going to do a tour of the entire interface. I'm going to do that in a separate video that is more lengthy. But today we're just focusing on the visual elements of a StoryBrand website based off of the example that we have as this template here that's offered by storysite.co. Okay, so that's really all we're going to do. We're going to focus on the graphical elements. We're not going to get into the content. The content's actually really, really important per what I just mentioned, right? So going through the actual framework for no matter what you're working in, StoryBrand, or if you're doing, PAS or ADA or any of the other frameworks, it's actually really important to get your content done first. In fact, what we do a lot of times, and I'll just show you an example of one of our onboarding documents here with clients, and we will actually go through and go detail this out, right? So unique selling, you can see target audience, who your single ideal prospect, stage of awareness. So we're noting somebody unaware, problem aware, solution aware, a unique selling proposition, what makes this company stand out from the crowd, pain points, features, benefits, PAS framework, problem, call out the problem, agitation, so that's the A in the framework, dig into the problem, solution, the way out with your product or service, and then also the same thing for the ADA framework. Okay, so really important to get that content done if you're creating this for yourself or for a client. And that's an exercise unto itself, right? Just sitting down, really thinking this through. A lot of times we will not only brainstorm internally and create this just through conversations with our clients and really getting to the heart and soul of a product or service, but we will also enhance it with AI. So we'll also run it through ChatGPT, for example, and see what that creates. And then a lot of times we have kind of a mixture of the two, just making sure that we're always hitting on all of the ideal, pain points, for example, or the benefit-driven feature statements and things of that nature. So again, content is really, really important. But in this particular video, we're not going to talk about content. We're just going to do visual elements. Now, when I jump ahead and show you what we're going to end up with here, now you can see that we do have content, but it's not something that was really thought about tremendously. This is just, a lot of this content is actually ChatGPT driven content because we just had to get some filler content in, and so don't look at the content portion and think that this is StoryBrand, right? StoryBrand is way more than that. There are experts out there that devote their lives to this, and it is, if you don't want to hire one, read the book. I highly recommend it. But it is one of the more powerful frameworks for being able to drive, not only in marketing clarity, in showing exactly who you are and who you're helping, in being very specific and not cutesy in your advertising, but also showing them, benefit-driven statements and how easy it is, 1, 2, 3, to get started, for example. And there's a whole bunch there. I'm oversimplifying it by far. But what I'm trying to get to is, like, right now, we're just talking about the graphical elements that are typical in a StoryBrand website. And again, here's kind of an example here, right? And I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this, but you can see you'll almost begin to notice patterns in a website that is StoryBrand wireframed, for example. So this is the website, mystorybrand.com. I think I said storybrand.com earlier. I guess it's mystorybrand.com. If you're not familiar with it, check it out. But what we're going to do right now, like I said, is just emulate what we have right here. Okay. So hopefully you got started with Unbounce, and we can begin building, but let's get into it. Okay, let's do this. So again, we're going to go section by section. So we're going to have, we're not going to do navigation because this is a landing page, but we're going to do this section. It's not going to be the same imagery. We'll use the same text, but we're going to pull images right out of Unbounce and use whatever Unbounce gives us. There are some images you'll see that were pre-formatted in Canva. When you create images like this header image, if you have text, a lot of times the text cannot have noise underneath. For example, imagine this over, this bookcase. Sometimes it can be a little tricky. So a lot of times I look for images that are kind of like this, where you have a background where the text can be very clear and noticeable. And there are times where we have to edit in Canvas and do image prep. So I will show you some of that here in a few minutes here. But let me scroll through. So we're also going to be doing this section here, and then this section, and down here as well, all the way down to the bottom. Actually, pretty much all of it, or at least close to all of it. All right, so getting back into Unbounce, let's get started. So from this particular page, once you're logged in, you're going to go create new. And you should be presented with two different options here. So you have the classic builder, and then now you have the smart builder, which I think is no longer in beta, used to be in beta. And of course they're touting this one, right? Because it's AI powered and template driven, and it's supposed to make things a lot faster. I've tried both. I still prefer the classic builder, and it's not that I'm old fashioned. It's just that I like the control. And with the smart builder, it does everything quickly for you, and it creates content for you. But again, going back to what I mentioned previously, content is so important. Understanding who your audience is, speaking to a very specific audience, and understanding where they are in the buying journey is essential. And it's not something that AI can understand, because AI does not understand your business. AI does not understand where you're advertising. Okay, so it's great that they have these tools to kind of build something quickly, but at the end of the day, you really need something that's going to resonate with your target audience. And in this particular exercise, we are going to emulate, again, that StoryBrand template. So we're going to start the classic builder. I am going to do videos on the smart builder later on, but today we're just going to focus on classic builder, where we have full and complete control, or at least enough control to be able to emulate what we're looking at. Okay, so once you select that, basically we're going to start with a blank page. Now there's a lot of templates here to choose from, right? So if you're building something else, by all means, you can start there and then swap out the images. The risk is that your website can kind of look like others, right? So if you want to be completely unique, start from scratch. And I think it's a good exercise anyway to start from scratch, so you understand how this works. So we're just going to call this StoryBrand Part 2, because I already did one, right? So I already have one, so I'm going to do the second one. All right. And here we are. So here is, where we're going to be building, right? So we have all kinds of tools over here, a section tool where we add different sections. If we need a box, we add boxes. We're going to be adding a lot of text. We're going to be uploading a lot of images. There's going to be some buttons that we create as well. I'm not going to do any light box buttons today, and actually we're not going to do forms. I'm going to cover forms in a different video. In this particular example, I might do forms. There is a form on the bottom of it, so maybe we do that. And then we're not embedding videos, but if I have enough time, I can show you how to embed videos. But let's get started with the very top section of this particular template. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so what we're going to do in the beginning is create a section. All right, so let me just explain how sections work really quick. You can see that I have it selected here, and if I wanted to create another section, I would just drag this over and it would create another one. We're going to be creating a bunch of sections, so I'll just leave that as it is. But you can see that, as I select each section, you can see the how it actually shows what's selected, right? So I'm going to select this one, and you can see I'm not going to put a border on, but I just want to be more clear about what we're dealing with. So we have this, for example. Now we won't be actually adding a border because that's not part of the design, but just visually so you can see what this looks like. If I were to add a border to this section, you would see that this is the section that we're dealing with, right? I'll probably end up just deleting this one up here. In fact, let's just do that. Now I can select it and then up here click delete and it's gone. Now on this particular section, obviously we do not want a border, so I'm going to say none, but we are going to add a background. So if I were to just add a colored background, it would just be solid color, and I could just choose. Let's just choose something random here, and you can see how that works, right? In this particular example, that's not what we're doing. We're going to keep that white, and then we are going to actually use, let's take a look really quick. We're going to use a full image that's going to occupy this entire section. So let me just pull this down, and that's how you do it. You just grab that handle and pull it down. And then down here for background, instead of solid color, we're going to say we want an image. Okay, so here are some images that were previously uploaded. There's a bunch of them here, and you can kind of see how when I select the images, I try to find something that has the ability to be able to add some text without it being washed out or being a little hard to see. The last one that I created was this header here, so I think I'll just do the same thing. I'll just go with this header. So let me just select that and zoom back out. I'm going to choose that as my header image, and that will pop in. Now normally I probably would format this where she's not so far off to the right, but this is going to work for just this demonstration. This gives us a nice area here to be able to add our text. Now let's see what we need to add. So it's financial services to help you reach your retirement goals. So what we do is simply grab this text tool and just grab it and drag it over to this middle section, and we are going to type that in. Or in this case, I'm going to try to actually paste it because I did type that in earlier, so I'm just going to try to save some time. But whatever you need, you can type it or just paste it. This is why it's helpful to have everything in a separate document, all of your content, because then you can just quickly go through and paste things as you need them. Now that I have this text selected, you can see over here under this Properties tab that I have the ability to choose a bunch of different fonts. There's quite a few of them. You actually have the ability to add a lot of different fonts. In fact, the entire, there's so many different fonts that are available here, including all of the Google fonts. Roboto is one that I actually imported. So did I? I think so. Let's try it. So in this particular case, I'm just going to go with the Roboto fonts, and we will make this medium, and I'm going to make this size pretty large. So we're going to say maybe 72. Let's see what it looks like. And then obviously we have some spacing issues, some line spacing issues. So we're going to make an adjustment there and bring that up to, let's just try 45 to see what that looks like. We're going to need some more than 45, unfortunately. So let's try 58, and then what I'm going to do is grab this and then drag it out and take a look at that and see what it looks like. Now you notice that it turns red. So these are the boundaries that we're working in, right? So we want to make sure that it's in this middle section. Now let's reference that template again. So I think we're almost there. Maybe not 72, maybe 60 would be better. Let's try 60. Do I have that option? Let's see if I just type it in. Maybe I can't do that. Okay, so I am forced into those sizes for now. We'll just go with 72. This line spacing is not looking that great, so I'm going to increase that to 77. All right, and then we just drag this over. And let's see what this looks like. Let's take a look at this template again. So it's white. So let's just go ahead and change that to white. So we're just going to pull that to the corner. Oops. All the way up like that. And so you can see that it's a little washed out over here. So what I would do in this particular case is I would go back and select the section, and again back down here where it says background and image, what you want to do is look for this advanced setting, and what we can do there is change the opacity. So let's see what we have here. That's a little too washed out, so let's not use white for that. Let's use black, and then let's see what happens there. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so let's go with that. That looks pretty good. And then we have this section down here. So there's some text down here. This is just Latin filler text, but we're actually going to fill it with something. And this is text that Dad created earlier just through ChatGPT. So I'm going to bring this more text over here. I'm going to change this font. Actually, I'm going to leave the font. I'm going to change the font size. Let's go with maybe 26. Again, this is text that you hopefully create. Change that to Word in a separate document, so it's ready to go. And then you can just simply paste it in. Makes it a lot easier. All right, let's take a look at that. And that's pretty good. Let's see, what color are we here? Probably want to do a nice gray color. Somewhere in that range. Let's go with that. Okay, so let's take a look in comparison. Now we need to add a little button. But before I do that, I want to drag this down a bit to give us more room. All right, because we do have to add the button. We don't want everything to be all squished. And in fact, I know that I'm going to have to be adding a logo at the top later on. So let me just move this text down a little bit to give us room for later. All right, so let's go take a look at the template again. So we have to add this button. Actually, from a call to action visual element, I think this button here is too washed out. It doesn't stand out enough on the page, so we're going to change the color on that. So let's jump back over here. We're going to use this button tool, drag a button over here, and the call to action was schedule a call. Okay, so let's just go over here to the text section, and we are going to just do what they did and put it in all caps. Schedule a call. Honestly, not the greatest call to action, but we're just going to keep with the example, and we're going to expand that out a bit, make the button bigger. No, we don't want to keep the blue. For buttons, I tend to go with something that is more on the reddish orange side. I believe that really stands out pretty well. So let's see what we can do here. Let me slide it down perhaps in this range, and it's a little too burnt. So let's go with maybe up here, somewhere around here, I would say. And that allows it to pop on the page, okay? Now we're just going to leave it as a button for now. We can come back later and create the functionality of what we want to happen with that button. Now what we need to do is add the logo. And on this particular, so with the other page that I created, the first one where I showed you an example, I had actually created a logo again in Canva. So it's pretty easy to do. So I just grabbed a symbol, and this fictitious company is called North. So I'm just going to add this at the top. All right, and it doesn't have to be that large. It's just going to say North. Okay, so far so good, right? I mean, we're everything's coming along here. So we have we have a lot of what we see here. So let's move on to that second section. All right, so for the second section, it looks like we have to come up with a dark gray color all the way across, and then we have 3 different text boxes basically with bullets. So let's do our best to emulate that. So let's go back over into Unbounce. I'm going to drag a new section over down below. You can see that it pops in there. Let's make an adjustment. First thing we can do is set that background color. So let's go into the color selector. Again, let's see if we can find a nice dark taupe-ish color. So there we go. That should extend it all the way over. Now we're going to create the text and bullets. So the bullet is just an image, and let's see if we can pull that in. I thought I had it in here. 1 second. Okay, I just double checked, and it actually came out of the Unbounce public images section. And I believe the way that I found that was through a search for arrow. So let's see if that brings up anything. And these are just public images that have been shared. I'm not seeing anything, unfortunately. Let me just, there's a little bit of a delay. So let's see if that works. All right, so here it is actually. So let's go with, I think I used gray before. This time let's use this more brownish color. Let's see, maybe it's actually it works out pretty well. So we're going to use that. I'm going to make it a smaller size just by dragging it in just a bit. And I know I'm going to need 3 of them. So what I'm going to do in this case is just do a really quick, I'm on a MacBook, so I'm going to use Command C to copy, and then Command V to paste. I'm going to go copy, paste, and paste again. So I have 3 of them, although you could just do it up here, right? You could just copy and paste. And then let's spread these out a bit. Let's get them sort of lined up. And what I like to do is select all of them. So I'm going Command. I believe it's Command. Oh, sorry, it's not Command. Is it Shift? Yes, it's Shift. All right. So I do Shift to select all of them. And what I like to do is align them in the middle with each other. Now I can show you these others, but it's not going to be a great example because they're all the same size. But this gives us proper alignment. And then what we're going to do then is use the text tool to create the text that we see here, right? So we have stop worrying about money, feel confident, and reach your goals. So stop worrying about money. And I'm going to make that smaller. And again, think about text size as well, because you don't want to be all over the place with different size text, where it just becomes like this jumbled mess. You want to be pretty consistent about it. So let's just say that we are going to use 16 for these. And I'm going to put that right there. Let me get this out of the way. So stop worrying about money. What was the other one? Let's go back. Feel confident and reach your goals. Okay, so let me bring this in, and I'm going to just copy that. I'll do it that way this time, and then I'm going to paste it twice, so I have an option for over here. So we have to change this to feel confident. Okay, and make that smaller. And then let's pull this one down and change that to reach your goals. Your goals, okay? So let me just adjust this by moving it over. You can see that we have these green lines that help us with alignment, which is terrific. Okay, now this is turning red on us, but we just need to scoot that in. All right, so there we have that particular section. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of it again by the Shift button, and I'm going to select all of this together and just arrow this down. Now, I could also just grab it and move it down, but I'm going to move everything together because it looks like it's pretty well lined up. I'm going to nudge it up because I'm going to make this not so tall, this section. Okay, so I think we've got it, right? So it feels, or at least it looks pretty good. Let's take a look at that north template. So I think we're on our way. So that was the section number 2 completed. Okay, section number 3. So we need an image with somebody looking contemplative, staring into a computer, thinking about their financial future. And we need a kind of a light gray box, and then of course text. So let's get into that. All right, we're going to just use a white background on this one. So let's add another section down to the bottom. Move that down here. All right, I'm going to expand that a bit more. Okay, so now let's look for an image. Let's pull that. Oop, I grabbed the wrong one. Sorry, image. Here we go. This is what we used before. Let me see if I could just find another one using Unsplash. So Unsplash is another way to do this. So, these are all free images. So you can do man or person at computer. And let's just see what we have here. All right, so I think this works. So let's actually try this. So I'm going to bring this one in. It's going to ask me if I want to resize it or not. You can just bring it in full size, but a lot of times it'll be gigantic and it'll be hard to actually scale. Or you can scale the image to fit the size. If you do full size, you can change it. Actually, let's do this because I think this is a common problem. You'll see what happens. Use full size and then it's boom, this gigantic image. But what you can do is actually make it smaller by just adding the width down here. So you can just change that. Instead of 4100, let's change it to 400 and see what that looks like. So boom, okay, so that looks pretty good. And again, let's just see what we have to do here. So somebody looking at a computer, and then we have to add a, this gray box basically over here and expand this out. Does that match? Let's take a look. That's pretty good. All right, so again, we're going to change the color on this box. So instead of white, we're going to do like a creamish color and go with that. And now we need to add some text. So I'm going to drag the text over here and I'm just going to paste it. So are you spinning your wheels trying to plan your financial future? Okay, let's see here. Let's see what this looks like. Let's take a look again as a reference, and then there's some bullet points. But actually, let me make an adjustment on the line spacing. That's a little too spaced out, so let's tighten that up a bit. Maybe down to 32 would be better. Yeah, that looks pretty good. All right, I'm just trying to give myself room because I know I have to, I need to paste in. Let me just do this here. Scoot this over. I'm going to need some room for these bullet points, so make this a little bit bigger. Now, if I had more time, I would probably edit this image, move her more over to the left. But in the interest of time, we're just going to leave it this way for now. But I think that looks pretty good. Let me see here. Okay, let's add the bullets. And I definitely don't want it to be that large. In fact, this is where I'm going to use a smaller text. I'm just going to go down to probably 14, and then I'm going to paste what I have. And you can see that there's quite a lot here. So this is going to be a little bit of a challenge getting this to fit. All right, so maybe we make this box bigger. It's a little tricky because she's sliding out of the picture. Move the box down a bit more, making some adjustments here. I'm going to pull this out. Yeah, it's starting to bleed off into the where we don't want it, right? So I think in this case, I'm going to actually, and this is going to be a great example of how to crop. So if you want to crop an image within Unbounce, just go Edit Mask, and then you can make your adjustments this way. So I'm gonna crop this image here and say Done, and then move it over to give us more room. And that allows me to be able to move this box over some more. I might actually crop it again, but let's see if we can get this to work. That's better. Okay. So let's just go with that for now. Of course, we want to tweak it some more, but I think we're okay just for demonstration purposes. All right, so there we are. Let's take a look. Yeah, close enough, right? So that's our third section, right? So 1, 2, 3. And then now we have this other section down here where we're going to have 3 different images and some text and a call to action. But when we look at this, you can see there's a background image, right? So it looks like it's a building of some type. So we're going to have to find an image and then wash it out. So let's do that. First thing we're going to do is add a section, of course. So let me slide this down. So it adds this section. I'm going to make the section bigger. So I'm going to go up to the sizing on the section and say, instead of height 200, I'm going to say height 400. Okay, so then I made it bigger. In fact, let me just adjust this up. And so for this section, make sure the section is highlighted. We're going to do a background image, right? So we're going to, you can see I already have images selected. So if you're doing this for the first time, just go into Unsplash and do a search for, building, skyscraper, something like that, and select the image. Let's just grab this one. I'm going to choose the image. It's going to fill it in, but again, we have to wash that out. So let's go into Advanced Settings. We are going to do an overlay with, let's see, a creamish color, something like that. And then we are going to change this setting to probably 86 or so. And I think that looks pretty good. So let's take a look. I mean, it's not exact. Well, maybe we should wash it out a bit more. There we go. All right, so we have that part. Now we need text, 3 images. So let's just go through that. I will do the first one with you, and then I'm just going to fast forward for the others because it's just repetitive, okay? All right, so let's go into retirement planning will be the first one that we add after we add the section header, which was, I believe this is what it is, right? Our financial services do the heavy lifting for you. For some reason, we have a bullet on this, so let's get that bullet out of there. Remove that style. All right. Remember, make sure your section, every section header or subhead has the same font size and style. You don't want to be all over the place. So this matches this, right? So you're just trying to stay consistent. And so we are now going to add an image, of course. So let's go and drag this over down here. And let's see, which image can we use? Let's use this image. And this time, I'm not going to, so I'm not going to do full size. I'm going to do scale image to fit page. That allows me to be able to scale it down quickly to the size that I need. And I'm just going to park that right there. You can see here as I'm making the adjustment, the numbers up here are changing as well, right? So let's just go with 200. Hopefully that'll work for us. And this section was called retirement planning. Let's try that again. Retirement planning. Okay, at 14, and again, that pesky little bullet keeps showing up, so let's get rid of that. All right. And in the example that they gave, there was some filler text. I'm just going to skip that for now. We know how to add text, right? So if you want to add text, you can definitely do it if you're building something as well. But in this case, I'm just going to leave it clean and we're going to have 2 additional images with text. So let me fast forward, and then we'll start in on the next section. Okay, so we're almost there. I do want to just show you one thing here. So if we are wanting to center things, again, use Shift to grab both of it, and we're going to use this tool to center, right? So just make sure everything is centered. So here we go again. Just make sure that everything is centered, and then of course, is the text in alignment as well? So I'm going to select the text. And I'm going to use this one right here. Okay, so boom, everything snaps into place. Looks like we have a call to action that we have to add. Okay, schedule a call. So I'm just going to copy. I'm going to copy this one. Again, copy, paste. Okay, creates an exact copy of that button. And we're going to drag it down and stick that right in the middle. It's a smaller call to action this time, so let's resize that. I'm going to make it. Looks like we have a different font on this. It's okay, but normally you want everything to match, right? So let's just make that smaller and put that right here. Okay, so now we're done with that section. Onward. Okay, so next up we have this section here. So we have text and a button, and we have 2 images and quotes. Now, I am going to build this quickly because we don't want to repeat what we've already done. You've already seen it. So what I'm going to do is just build most of this out. I'm going to do this, and we will do this part together. You can always do a circle image in a separate editor like Canva. In this particular example, I actually figured out how to do it within Unbounce to create that circle around an image. So I'm just going to cover that technique here. But again, it's up to you whether you want to do it. So the only thing we're going to do in this particular case is just talk about how to do the circle image. So I'll basically I'm going to pre-fill this, and then we'll do this one together. Okay, so let's start in by grabbing our image. This section. Try that again. We will use this person here. I'm going to scale image to fit. I'm going to drag this down. I want this to be as square as possible. And by the way, I found this image on, so when you go into images again, just to show you one more time, I found that image on Unsplash. Okay, so there's quite a few images that you can grab. But of course, if it's, if you're doing this for your company, it should be a genuine client image, obviously. But just showing you that, if you need images, there are images in Unsplash. I'm going to make this more square. So again, I'm going to edit mask. It allows me to adjust this down to make it more square. I think that's good enough. Let me just pull it back a little bit. There we go. Move it into place. And this is where you can actually add curvature, which I thought was kind of neat. So what I did with this selected is went down where it says corner radius, and I just moved this all the way over, maxed it out. You can see it's not quite a circle. So if you want a perfect circle, it's probably best to do that in an image editor. and then making the background opaque or transparent rather. And then you can adjust it to the size that you need. Okay, so as soon as I let this go, it's going to snap into place and it looks pretty good to me. Okay, so there's the image, and then now we need a quotation graphic. So let me grab the image again, move it over here. I think I brought one in, maybe not. Okay. Let me go back and take a look to see where I got that quotation image from. Okay, it looks like I pulled that out of, let's see here, public images. So let's do quote. Okay, that's it. So we want to make that a little bit bigger. And again, you can do this any way that you want, right? So this is just a preference of styling for quotes. Let me see, I might need more room on this section. Let me make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to make that 500 for now. And then grab the text, pull it down, and then type that in, okay? So there's a quote. I do have to add another one, so hopefully I have enough room. And I'm not going to do the same thing because that gets tedious doing the same thing over and over again. So I'm going to skip ahead, and then we're going to move to the new section. Okay, so I have the second one. You can see this one's a little squished, right? So it's really about playing with the the ability to set that mask, and then also changing that corner radius. But again, if you want full control of that, that's something that you should probably do in your image editor. Okay, so far we've tackled a lot of this. I mean, look at this. We have one section, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's see what the 6th section would be. And looks like packages and pricing. Although this is kind of the same effect as this down here, right? So if I did one, I could do the other. I mean, it's nothing but text and boxes and call to action. So let me just skip forward and let's do this one. How it works. This is very typical of the StoryBrand esque websites where there's always like a 1, 2, 3. So get people to envision how it actually works. Start getting them to think about your service or product and the simplicity of moving to the next level. So let's do the how it works section, and then we'll finish it off with this, and then we should pretty much be done. Okay, so let's do the how it works at this point. So let's just jump back over into the editor. I'm going to add another section, obviously. Scoot this down to the bottom. Okay, so now we have a bottom section. I always like to make this a little bit bigger, so let's just change that to 500. All right, give us some room. Now we need to, did that even work? Hold on a second. Oh, I didn't press enter. Hold on. There we go. All right, so now that we have that, come down to the background, select an image. I have this other image for, the building, right? So get that in there. And we are going to fade that into the background like we did before. Let's select like a cream color. Here we go, and then slide this over to somewhere around there. I think should be fine, somewhere in there. We just want it to be very, very subtle. And let's take a look at the template again. So we have how it works, and then 1, 2, 3. All right, so let's go into that. Let's try that again. Here we go. I'm pasting in the content. See, this is centered, which is exactly what we need. And I'm going to add the 1, 2, 3. Now, in this particular case, I actually pulled the 1, 2, 3 out of Canva. So if you use Canva for editing, it's got a whole bunch of graphics, right? So, but you could get them from anywhere. So let me just pull that in. So again, I'm going to add an image here. And we'll just add that here. Tighten this up. Okay, so that's how that works. And I'm not going to bore you with doing the number 2 and the 3, so I'm going to skip ahead, and we'll pretty much be done with this section. All right, so let's take a look here at what we have so far. So we have the 1, 2, 3. I did format it differently than the example. I just feel like this is kind of boring, actually. So just add some elements to it, right? So make it stand out and pop. The only thing is the number 1 doesn't match the other, so disregard that portion. But that's done. So let's go down to this section here. I'm not going to spend a tremendous amount of time on it because, again, we've covered stuff like this over and over again, right? So let's just grab an image, pull this image in really quick, resize it. So I'm just going to scoot it into place here. Okay, so we have this, and then I'm going to add a gray box and then a text. I'm going to pull that call to action. I'm going to copy that call to action button down again, and then we're going to work on that last section, which is the form. I did want to mention one thing. As I was creating this, something came to mind. So as I'm building this out, I'm realizing that we need consistency. So one thing to keep in mind is that if you've done something similar to this before, just make sure that you stay consistent with it. So we did this before, right? So we have this, and we have this particular color that we had chosen. I'm just going to copy that, and I'm going to bring this down and make sure that it's exactly the same. Okay, so I'm not sure why I have a border here. So hold on a second. Let me get, oh, I guess it's not showing up, or is it? Let me take a close look at that. No, I think we're good. All right, so I do want to change the color on this though. So background solid color, this is what we want. I think that matches. All right, and yeah, that looks good. So let's see here. What do we need to do? Just add the rest of the text and we're off to the races. I did want to mention one thing. So if you have a situation where one element is overlapping the other, which can happen, right? As you're dragging things into the editor and making changes, you can have something like this happen. So it's pretty easy to fix. Just select whatever you need to move, and then you will see that there's an option up here to send backward, and that should fix the problem. Okay, just wanted to mention that. Because that does come up on occasion. Okay, so we're done with this section. Now we are going to get into the final section, and that is just to do the form. You can do the form, as its own section. You can do the form as a pop-up. So we're not going to talk about that. We're just going to create a form as its own section on here. And so let's get into that. Okay, so we have a new section here. We're going to get a form going. So if you come down and look for where it says form and drag this over, this will get us started. I would say, depending on the application, try not to ask for too much, especially if this is just, a download or something like that. The more you ask, the more friction you introduce. So just ask for the bare minimum. The bare minimum a lot of times would just be email address or maybe name and email address. In this case, we're going to basically copy or sort of copy what we see in the template, which is first name, last name, and email address. So we're just going to do that here. We will do first name. So just click on it, and there are predefined fields: first name, last name, and email. Okay, so let's see. We can make one of them required. We could say email is required. Okay, so we could do that. And we can validate as email address as well. So it'll do some checking to see if it's a valid email. And that should do it. And that should get us started at least. So now we can drag this over and make adjustments. I tend not to like the way that it's formatted, so I'll go through and make some adjustments based on what I'm seeing. Obviously the font's not matching what we have. So let's make sure that we're going for consistency. We're doing the same font, so we use Roboto. Font size, that should be fine. You can change your spacing on all of this. Let's see here. Corner radius. I prefer not to have a radius. You can make these, you can see the fields are moving in and out. So it's very curved here, but I prefer just to do straight rectangles. Not a big fan of the inner shadow, so I tend to remove that as well. Okay, so that's gone. And down here again, making sure the fonts are the same. Okay. And I think that's about, let's take a look. That's pretty good. Let's take a look over here again. Oh, there, see, there's go across. I mean, we could do that, but it's, you know, it's just a matter of preference, right? So we're just going to keep it this way. Now for the button, what does it say on the button? Get a free guide. So let's just take care of that right now. So the text is get a free guide, and it's all caps. Oops, get a free, oh my God, I can't type. Free guide, okay? Again, we're gonna change the font here to match. Okay, I think that should be fine. We do want it to match the others, right? So the others are slightly, the button you can see is curved, right? So let me see, what is the font size of that? Oh, I see why it's different, because we never changed it to Roboto up here. So that's why it's a little different. That's okay. All right, so I think that's fine. Now, I do want to mention one thing. So form confirmation, you have a bunch of different choices here. Now this makes sense once you've connected Unbounce to your email provider, because then it will just handle the submission for you. But I'm just going to go through this. I'm not going to go through it in detail because it's a separate video. But you can send this to a URL. You can send the data to our URL. You can see that you can append form data to the URL. You enter your URL where you want to direct that traffic. You can also do a post form, so it's another way of submitting data. You can also show an alert or open URL in Lightbox. So it really depends on your application. And again, that's a whole separate video. Today we're just talking about, you know, making or recreating basically the framework of a StoryBrand website. Okay, so this kind of takes us there to some degree. I mean, we didn't do it, you know, we weren't exactly identical, right? But it's at the end of the day, it looks pretty darn good, I think. Let's just add, let me see here. So there's just a footer section. I mean, we could do that, right? So let's just finish it off. So add one last section. I'm just going to make this really, really quick. I'm going to say solid color in the background. Let's do a dark taupe. All right. And I'm just going to add one more logo down here. So this is the logo we created in Canva. And I'll just put that down here. Okay, and just for fun, I had asked ChatGPT on the other landing page, I asked ChatGPT to create a tagline for me based off of the services that we're offering. So that's what this is here. You know, obviously you just add whatever you need, right? But this is just filler text. So I thought this was okay just for filler text. It's better than the random Latin filler text, right? So guiding your journey to financial serenity and retirement. All right. So that's it. Now there's so much more actually, but you know, for the sake of time, because we're at over 46 minutes on this one already, the next step, and really you'd want to do this as you're designing, making sure that you're always thinking about mobile as well, because right now I can tell you the mobile version of this would be a complete disaster, right? So what we have to do is toggle back and forth between desktop and mobile down here in the lower right hand corner. You can see that if I turn this on and I go to mobile, you're going to see everything's out of whack, right? So we'd have to, it's a separate endeavor. You have to go through and just kind of, you align it to the mobile experience, and then you toggle back and forth between mobile and desktop to make sure everything is still looking good on the desktop. A lot of times with mobile, I will change the images. For example, on the desktop, you can get away with bigger images. Mobile, you're restricted. So a lot, on this one, for example, I'd probably change the images to, or image to be something much smaller. And so you just realign, you'd expand your sections and realign the text. But again, not going to spend time on that one today. That's probably a separate video as well. In fact, definitely is. I'm going to do a very lengthy video that covers pretty much all of Unbounce, and then we'll cover that at that point. But yeah, so, so far so good with the desktop version. You can see if I want to click save. In fact, I should have been clicking save just to be safe, right? You want to click save. And if we go into preview, you can see what it looks like so far. Let's see here. So, this is the image again, probably not the best formatted image because it feels like it's weighted to the right. Now there is, there's a reflection here, but I'd probably reformat the image to bring her over more, so it looks better. This is a pretty wide screen that we're looking at. So if I were to move this into a smaller laptop size screen, it wouldn't look as bad. But as we scroll down, I mean, look at that, pretty darn good, I mean, not bad for, 48 minutes or so, right? So, and if we compare that to this over here, this template, which is, $300, right? So we could pretty much emulate any template, in Unbounce. And it's just really, really a powerful way to create, very effective, beautiful landing pages that are not only aesthetically beautiful, but if you take the time again to build out your content and go through the process of doing it right, if you're doing the PAS framework, talking about the problem, the agitating problem, and then offering your solution, that's really the best way to go about it. Okay, so again, if you haven't started with Unbounce yet, please go to brianrocket.net/Unbounce. You do get, I think, 14 free days, so you get some time to decide, and then, of course, 20% off your free first 3 months, or 35% off your first full year with Unbounce. And if you want some training on this content, I can't mention this enough because it's not as easy as just filling out, just plugging in some content or having AI just automatically generate content for you. Which is what Unbounce is doing in kind of that AI generated model. You really have to build out your content yourself and build it for a very specific audience using some tried and true frameworks that have worked over and over again for countless companies, right? So making sure that you've got the content to go along with this fantastic landing page tool that Unbounce provides. Okay, so that's it. Hopefully you enjoyed everything here. Let me know, in the comments below if there's something I could have done better. I certainly would appreciate it. Please like this. Please subscribe. I'm just getting started. I'm going to add some more of this stuff. Again, I'm going to take a deeper dive on Unbounce, going through pretty much all of it, step by step, in more of a. It's going to be kind of probably a 10-part course because so much has changed, right? It's hard to stay up to date with everything. Even if I look at some of the older or some of the YouTube videos currently about Unbounce, they're already dated. So we're going to get something fresh up there for you. So again, please like and subscribe, and we'll talk soon. Thank you.